My name is Mary Bamba. I'm a member of the NACC, and I'm up here on the podium with my colleague Mary Lou O'Gorman. The National Association of Catholic Chaplains Distinguished Service Award recognizes outstanding dedication and service to the NACC. Or to the field of chaplaincy by a member of the NACC. The award is presented to an individual who has advanced the mission of the NACC or the ministry of chaplaincy in a significant and lasting way. My colleague Mary Lou and I have the great honor to tell you how Mary T. O'Neill has met and surpassed these criteria.
I first met Mary T. O'Neill in the early 2000s in Chicago. Mary T. was facilitating a meeting. That year we didn't have one natural conference. We had several meetings across the country to discuss the sacrament of the sick. Mary T. was the facilitator at the meeting I attended. I was struck by this woman's amazing grace, her sense of wisdom. Her presence facilitated an amazing conversation among us as we thought about the sacrament of the sick and some of the challenges at administering it. I was also gifted that time. I came down with bronchitis, and Mary T. ministered to me. I discovered that she has a skill in aromatherapy, and she came to me and handed me these things to help me to open my airways, and I was very grateful. A secret about Mary T. I didn't know. Over the years, and I'm only going to capture the highlights of a few of Mary T.'s accomplishments. I witnessed Mary T. in many ways. She touched the lives of our members. First of all, I remember her working on standards to make our standards mesh with the newly adapted common standards for chaplains and for supervisors. Later, as the chair of the board of NACC, she facilitated strategic planning in order to help us to make our organization continue to be viable and to meet the needs of the members. She stewarded the work of the Partners in Pastoral Care, a fledgling group of organizations involved in ministry to patients and men and women throughout dioceses. And Mary T. made that work come alive. Following that, she developed standards and competencies and addressed the spiritual needs of those with dementia, of seniors with dementia, and she implemented those modules to help people to better address the needs of those who were struggling with dementia and memory loss. I can go on and on. These are just a sample. But of the many ways Mary T. touched us, her grace, her affirmation, her spirit of blessing has touched many of us as she's engaged us in the work of the organization.
While I had always admired Mary T. from a distance, I actually didn't make her acquaintance until COVID struck, and our executive director, David Lichter, asked some of the retired chaplains if we wouldn't lead listening sessions for chaplains working in the field. During that time, Mary T. provided a superb example of peer support and even offered small groups for chaplains who needed to share their COVID experiences in a more intimate setting. All this while, she was developing competencies and education for prison ministers under the auspices of the NACC and the Coalition of Catholic Prison Ministries. She just stepped up to the plate, saw a need, and filled it. And she's done this throughout the years as board chair, as cognate partner. She's just amazing.
And Mary T., we'd like you to come to the stage. I want to say, okay, and on behalf of the NACC and its members, we want to give this award to Mary T. O'Neill, our leader, our teacher, our colleague, our mentor, our healer, and a very good friend.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. How can I speak?
You're welcome.
Thank you. Can you hold this too?
Absolutely.
Where does one find words after that? And I wasn't quite sure my legs were going to make it up the stage, but here I am. So, give me one moment here. My hands are shaking after such an awesome introduction. Thank you so, so much. Of course, my pages are upside down. So my heartfelt thanks to Mary Lou and Mary, dear, dear friends, for that introduction. And my heartfelt thanks also to Deacon Jack Conrad, chair of the NACC board and members of the board, to Erica Cohen Moore, the executive director of NACC. My heartfelt thanks to those who somehow considered me for this award. And my also deep heartfelt thanks to two of my sisters who are here from Ireland, to my brother, Oliver and his wife, who are here from Sydney, Australia. I think they heard about Janine and they wanted to come meet her. And my heartfelt thanks also to my nephew Patrick, who is here from Miami Beach, Florida. My heartfelt thanks to longtime friends, former NACC and APC students, and past dear colleague friends. I am stunned and grateful beyond measure. And actually, I'm still wondering if you got the right Mary T. O'Neill. And if you did, I do please accept my heartfelt thanks. I just want to share a little bit about an article that I read recently from a new website called DAISY, D-A-I-S-I-E. It's a social and educational media platform which connects creative thinkers and individuals worldwide. But recently, there was an essay on that site about the word pastoral, which of course caught my attention since spiritual care and pastoral care are so often interchanged. That word pastoral, which you know from Latin, means of shepherds, and thus refers to shepherd's concern for his or her flock. It also refers to the peaceful setting of the countryside and the people who live there. So I suppose that having been born in the middle of Ireland in a place called Athlone, in a rural setting, along with 11 siblings, the word pastoral always has been part of my DNA. I was born into a pastoral setting, and now I have retired to a pastoral setting. And my pages are upside down. Big cities and bright lights have filled in all the in-between years of my pastoral ministry, with my very first patient visit happening right here in St. Louis 50 years ago this year at St. Mary's in Clayton. But I'll tell you in just a bit what brought me to that first patient in this city. But I want to continue with the article about the idea of pastoral. The anonymous writer of that Daisy article mentions pastoral in arts, pastoral in music, in literature, in theater, in film and television, and even in architecture, with all the eco-friendly designs and sustainable practices. But curiously, the author also included pastoral in spirituality, and describes it as going beyond the tranquil landscape and into the realm of the deeply human. Additionally, the article then mentioned the idea of pastoral in the future. Pastoral in the future asks this crucial question: in an increasingly urbanized and technology-driven world, will the definition of pastoral hold any relevance at all? I repeat the question. In an increasingly urbanized and technology-driven world, will the definition of pastoral hold any relevance at all? It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Personally, I suspect that it will, as long as there remains a longing for simplicity, for tranquility, for a connection with the natural world, for a hint of the divine, for an understanding and acceptance of the self, and for compassionate and equal regard for the other. Values which, of course, still do have a pulse, and still do resonate, and are still timeless, and beckon to our best selves. So even as our world changes dramatically around us, these values still do work and still do have a pulse, as I said. The future of the word pastoral must, in this present moment, be about addressing and evolving rather than disappearing. In all of these considerations of the word pastoral, in literature, music, film, etc., remember this important element. Pastoral artists don't just paint the pretty. They also explore the tension between the natural and the man-made, between the rural and the urban, the authentic and the phony, the rich and the poor, the just and the unjust. These tensions, this interplay between opposites, is forcing us once again to the creation of new hybrid forms of pastoral which resonate with and cannot be ignored in our contemporary experience. In fact, it's these kinds of tensions which ultimately led me into a lifetime of chaplaincy and to the bedside of that long-gone patient here at St. Mary's in Clayton, St. Louis. The road to St. Louis and into chaplaincy was arrived at by way of a labyrinthine path from Calcutta, India. 52 years ago, I had an opportunity to spend several months with Mother Teresa and her community in Calcutta, India. working with the homeless, with those who had leprosy, and people who were under the care of Mother Teresa's group. It was a soul-shaking experience. Soul-shaking. I remember a friend saying that if you go there, you will never have experienced anything like the destitution and poverty you're about to see. And it was. But it was so shattering to me that in sheer desperation, I struggled to find a bookstore with the hope that I could find something in there that would bring solace to my struggle. And suddenly, a title there seemed to call out to me. The title was, "If That Were Christ, Would You Give Him Your Blanket?" Some of you may know the story. It is by a Richard Rumbrand and written in 1970, and I was there in 1972. In an instant, those destitute, starving, leprous, and dying people were no longer frightening specters of the saddest portion of humanity, which had completely overwhelmed any sense in me that I actually could do anything to be helpful to them. Instead, thanks to that one book title, I saw them. I saw the human person, and not just the circumstance. I saw the human being the best he or she could be in horrific situations, circumstances. And if by chance they also saw me, I had resolved that they would see in my eyes that they were not ignored, that they were not invisible, and that they were not alone. So I thank NACC and ACPE for equipping me with the tools and skills which have helped me navigate through so many decades of chaplaincy and pastoral education. I congratulate my fellow nominees, my fellow awardees, our own pastoral artists in this important ministry in our wounded world. And I thank each of you for tonight, for the privilege of being in your very wonderful and good company. Thank you.